one of the nice things is that we're finding this session is that we do have agreement that we have transportation issues that need to be addressed. The question is, how do we address them? And so right now, the Senate Republicans are working with the House majority in order to develop an alternative plan to the governor's. And we hope that'll be coming out very soon. A couple of our concerns is that the proposed gas tax would make us one of the highest in the country, and that we have some additional sources of stable funding that can be used to help fix some of our roads and bridges. Particularly in Scott County, I think one of the concerns we have is the 1% sales tax, and that would force Scott County into the County Transit Investment Board. The concern there is that Scott County is not slated to have any of the defined transitways. I think the last map I saw was 2025. And in the meantime, we have the ability to do some local option sales tax that I know our county board is looking at that would help improve some of the secondary arterials that feed the primary roadways. So from my perspective, you know, we would like to have more local control around how those funds are used. With that, I guess if there's any questions, I'll take any.
Possible. The best ideas in the world don't get anywhere at the legislature if folks don't really engage with their elected officials and really have that meaningful conversation and be on an authentic relationship over a sustained period of time, because that's how we take the measure of what really matters, what we should be focusing on, what exactly we should be doing, how we should allocate resources. And in a transportation bill, it covers so much ground. There's so much to consider. We need to learn a lot. We just need to understand and learn a lot, and that's where you come in. So I look forward to your talking Tim Kelly into voting for my bill. I'm just kidding. No, just engaging in that process of deliberation, legislative negotiation, finding what works best for all of us. I think there's a path. We can do something really good. Minnesota is doing very, very well economically. There's no doubt about it. But to sustain that momentum, to make sure Minnesota continues to punch above its weight, to address things like the worker and job skills gap that we're facing, connecting people to the jobs that are starting to emerge in our economy. It's a real problem. It'll constrain our ability to continue to grow. It's a quality problem to have, but we're certainly up to it. We can solve it.
Okay, so we are really pleased to have with us Representative Tim Kelly, who's from the Red Wing area, and he is the new chair of the House Transportation Committee. And we are really pleased to see that the House made the transportation bill House File number 4, and that it really is a priority to focus on increasing investments in roads and bridges around the state. So we want to work really closely with Representative Kelly to find some common ground and to make some progress on this issue. So please join me in welcoming Representative Tim Kelly.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to speak here in front of you. And I think there's a lot of good news to go around, really, and Senator Dibble said things very, very well. First of all, thank you for being here. It absolutely does mean something when we have constituents, when we have policymakers, when we have officials coming up to the Capitol. It really says something that you take time out of your day, because we know how busy you all are, to come up here and make your voices heard. So very important, and we do appreciate that. In regards to just the overall theme here, Senator Dibble, Senator Pederson, and myself all know that half the battle when you come up here is trying to create that momentum for your particular department, for your transportation, for your public safety, for health and human services. Half the battle is trying to get everybody else on the same page as far as the importance of it. And this year, I think that was done for us throughout the campaign trail, just throughout the last several years, where it just became cliche to say roads and bridges, and everybody knew that, well, that transportation should be the theme, infrastructure. So we need to really address that, and we need to prioritize that. So I think half the battle was done, and I'm sure by many of you. And so, as Margaret said, our House File 4 came out, and we said it is a priority. In fact, as a placeholder and as a statement, what we said is we're not afraid to to take dollars out of the general fund and say, just because it hasn't been done to a very big degree before, we're ready to do that. And we said to the tune of $200 million. And I think that in itself was supposed to be the statement to say, as the House Republicans, we are ready to prioritize that and we're ready to put the money into it. So that was our start to make sure that everyone understood that we're ready to look at transportation in a very serious way. Now, all of you, as in your positions, also know that you have many responsibilities. It's not just the fact that we can make transportation a priority and we can write the check, because we know there's many things across the state that are priorities for many people. But we also have responsibilities to everyone else in the state, to our constituents, to taxholders, to taxpayers. And we're in a very good position, we feel. Now we have a surplus that we're going into, and we believe the February forecast will only enhance that. So we actually do have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to prioritize again with our spending. And I feel very strongly that that's what you send your representatives and senators to St. Paul for, is that when there is a need, we need to get together, we need to do the proper budgeting, and we need to prioritize. And sometimes that means a few years back it was Health and Human Services. You can go back, it was public safety, or there's a number of things that get elevated to a certain level, and we need to flex with that. This year it's transportation. There's 33 other states that do this on a regular basis. They fund transportation out of the general fund. And so I don't see there's anything wrong with that. Now, there's been a lot of discussion on the 10-year plan versus a 4-year plan. And I think what I would like to see, what we're stressing, is just to have the ability to say, we know we're about there and pretty easy to get there on the, for example, the department ship plan, where basically a 4-year plan that they know, they have a blueprint, they're pretty much ready to go, and we know what they need from more funding, or what they could do with additional funding. And that's what we're really trying to focus on right here. Understanding also that there is that long-term need. But even yesterday we had the commissioner in our committee, and we were going through the governor's proposal and just questioning some of the things in very recent reports that suggested that things are fully funded to all the way to the point that we need $10 billion more. That's quite a gap. So all we're asking for is a little bit of time to work through that, to get agreement on both from the Senate, the House, and the governor's office, to get a more clear understanding of that. And I feel very, very strongly working with Senator Dibble. As he said, we've got a great relationship. We've had from the start. So I look forward to having that conversation and to be able to reach an agreement on that, so that we can move forward and start talking about a little more sustainability from the funding side. But right now, that's where we are at as a caucus and as the House Transportation Committee. But we look forward to hearing all of your ideas and thoughts. They are very much welcomed, and I will also be around for a while here. And certainly feel free to contact my office. We've talked with many of you already, and I look forward to doing that again. Thank you very much.
You've heard I'm the minority lead in the Senate on the transportation, so that really means that I'm working to be the chairman in a couple of years. Senator Dibble sometimes laughs at that, sometimes he doesn't, but I just know that he's going to be working just as hard, if not harder, to keep that chairmanship as well. But that also means that I basically just get to comment on much of the agenda that Senator Dibble chooses to bring through. And I think by now many of you know that includes a significant gas tax and sales tax, and a significant sales tax increase for a couple counties, in particular Scott and Carver County as well, which is going to certainly be reason for concern as we move forward on both the governor's bill and the bill we see coming out of the Senate. From my perspective, my background is, the way I make my living is I manufacture concrete block. We have a couple concrete block plants up in central Minnesota, and so I operate about 20 highway heavy vehicles every day, quite frankly, that pull out onto Highway 10 and usually go down to Clear Lake and then over to Clearwater and onto 94 down into the metro. Easily easily 80 to 90% of the product we manufacture in St. Cloud with the raw materials from that area end up coming down into the metropolitan area at some point. So believe me, when I say I understand what's going on, certainly on our roads and our highway system that we have, particularly on I-94 and Highway 10. Also being from St. Cloud, as you can imagine, it's a district that's very diverse. We're disappointed in how long it's taken to kind of get the transit situation with North Star worked out. Is that we have a community that's waiting for that very eagerly and are ready to help make that happen as we move forward if we have an opportunity to do that. And then certainly we have a very successful transit system that runs very, very well and is relied on heavily by our community. And so I'm looking forward to trying being part of some of those solutions, but certainly there are some disappointments. I hear almost every day how transportation is a priority, but yet it wasn't enough of a priority to be funded using the surplus at all in the plans that we see right now, or very little of the surplus, for example. And the bottom line is, we collected a lot of money last session. In fact, we collected too much, in my view, because we collected 50% more than we needed, because we have $1 billion surplus, and there was essentially a $2.1 billion increase in taxes. So I think when you hear concern from members of the House and members of the Senate, I think that's a valid concern, because the previous legislature has absolutely showed us that they're willing to collect much, much more money than what's needed, and quite frankly, it's going to a lot of other areas other than transportation right now. So that's certainly is a disappointment from my perspective, and hopefully that's something we can get addressed as we move forward in trying to solve this situation. So I'm happy to take a question or two if that. I guess we haven't done that up to this point, but certainly willing to do that as well. And again, I'm very grateful for a chance to serve in this office and represent the constituents in central Minnesota and St. Cloud. In the big picture, we're there for a very, very short time when you look at the history of what's gone on in this building over the last 100 years, and so I'm grateful to be there and want to be a part of the solution. And I think that's what you can expect from our office, and hopefully that's the reputation that we're developing for our office as we move forward. So, was there any questions for me at all? Or? All right, great. Thank you for the opportunity. Please call or write anytime. So.